Hi, I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about domestic violence, and particularly, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the shelter and talk about the process and talk about how it is and what they require and whether you are fit for it if you're going to leave and go to a shelter. And I'm going to talk about the hotline, and when you look in your area, or if you call 211 in anywhere, you can always get in anywhere in the United States. I think if you call 211, you can always get information about a shelter. And the reason why I'm talking about the shelter today is because I know that sometimes you don't have family and you're worrying about if you will get help. And then the shelter also, excuse me, the shelter also, a lot of people are scared of the shelter just because of the name shelter. And they see homeless shelters on TV, they see domestic violence shelters, but I really want to talk about domestic violence shelters, the process, and how they are, and what kind of benefit it might benefit you just in case you're in that situation. I'm talking about this because there are so many women out there who really do not have family around, or who have family but they don't want to turn to family, or they have family and they are far away, or they have family but family is also abusing them, so they'd rather go to the shelter, or family is enabling that. And sometimes women just want something somewhere where they could go, where they didn't have to tell anybody about it because of the situation they're in. And I was in the shelter, in domestic violence shelter years ago. Let's say in 9/11. That's the only thing I can remember about it. The year, and so I went through the process, and so I totally understand. I've been there twice. I think some years again after that, I went back again to the shelter. That was 5 years again after 9/11. I don't remember the exact time, but I wanted to talk about this because there's a lot of women who are scared of the word shelter. When they have the option to go to the shelter, they'd rather persevere and uh, the abuse rather than go to the shelter. That's why I'm talking about this today. I want you to understand that there is a lot of help there for domestic violence victims. And specifically, I'm talking about immigrant because, of course, that is my background. And a lot of immigrants, we have fear. We put fear on each other. We are scared of the system. We are scared of what we don't know. We are scared of what people will say. But I want you to know that it is better you go to the shelter than go to a temporary place that will not help you. The shelters here, domestic violence shelters, are specific for domestic violence. That means whatever problem you have, whether it's immigration issue, whether it's about custody, it all it's all covered by those people. I know when you type domestic violence in your area, what comes out is maybe family abuse or things like that. And they always have a hotline. Don't be scared of the word hotline. Hotline, and it says emergency. So sometimes your situation is not an emergency situation and you're scared of calling that number. That number is made for non-emergency also. It is made for you to call and ask for help. Either it can be immediate help, whereby they come and remove you, or not, no, they don't come and remove you, where you can go and live there if you actually need shelter. I'm sorry, I have allergies. If you have shelter, or you can call there to see if they have counseling, to see if they have lawyers, if they can refer you to lawyers. Of course, when you call, excuse me, I shouldn't have started this video because my allergies has been bad today. So of course, when you call that number, they will ask you very tough questions that may make you want to hang up immediately. They'll ask you, are you in danger? Does he have a gun? Does he beat you? Has he physically hit you? Sometimes he hasn't physically hit you, but when you hear that, you start saying, man, maybe these people only deal with serious issues, and you hang up. I want you to know that it's okay. Those questions, they have to ask every single person who picks up that phone. So when they call you and they ask you if the guy has a gun and all those things, they want to make sure that you are safe, okay? After you go through that process of their questioning you about whether he's ever slapped you or hit you, and if he's not, just tell him, no, he hasn't hit me, it's nothing physical, but it's emotional. You can always say all that thing. Then they will not, those people that pick up your call are not able to help you immediately. Those are emergency responders. They may tell you somebody will call you back or transfer you to somebody else. When they call you back, they will have a private number. The number will show private, so that whoever is abusing you does not whoever is abusing you does not see the number. So the reason why I'm talking about today is to make sure that when you when you call the domestic abuse number, which is every single most states and cities have those numbers. You just type domestic violence near a shelter, you can say shelter, and a lot of people really think that if I call this number, they're going to make me go. They don't make you do anything, okay? If you're not ready to leave, you can tell them, yes, I'm being abused, but I'm not ready to leave. You can say, I really am looking for counseling, or I'm looking for outreach services if you have any. Also tell them that you're looking for maybe, what do you call it, support group, because a lot of women, they're not really ready to leave. They're trying to find their way through, like what they're going through. They're trying to see, if I leave this, if they don't have papers at the moment, maybe they're being abused by the guy who is supposed to give them papers. So they get scared. They're like, if I call, will they ask me? They'll ask you those questions later. Even at that time, if you have your green card, they may not ask you at immediate call. But I want you to understand that domestic abuse shelters have very strong privacy laws. They are not going to talk about your immigration status to the immigration. They cannot reveal those kind of information. The safest place you can give information to is those shelters, rather than give that information to your friend who might go and talk about you, who might go and reveal to somebody that you don't have papers, or that you don't this or this. No, you don't have to really you have to be careful. That's what I'm trying to say. Trust those people, okay? Trust the domestic shelter people, and they will help you. So another thing I'm going to tell you is that listen carefully to what they're saying. They're going to ask you if you have children, if he's ever abused the children. If he's abused the children, you can mention it. If not, you can say no, But the reason why I'm doing this video call, and I'll do many videos, is that I want you ladies to realize that sometimes it is better to go to the shelter, even if hauna makara, you don't have karatasi and all that stuff, you don't have papers. it's okay to go to those people because they will figure out a way how you can get help, especially if you're married to a US citizen or somebody who has green card. You know, let people tell you that those who have green card cannot help you with VAWA, which is Violence Against Women's Act. They can. So I'm using this video to let you know that sometimes we put ourselves in situation whereby you go out there, you put your you go for help, you're asking the whole village, and yes, our people will help you. Our African people, whether it's Uganda, Kenya, they will help you, but sometimes they can't. They can help you temporarily, but they can't. And the reason why I'm telling you it is important to call the shelter if you have, even if you have children, even just so that you get the right lawyers to fight for your kids if you have kids involved. The reason is they are more experienced to talk about domestic violence and to help you detect which lawyers will help you at the court, will use the right words to fight your husband. Do not put your life with just any lawyer out there who people just refer you. You have to go to a lawyer that is specific for domestic violence. And where do you get that information? Yes, you can Google it and that's fine. You can be referred and that's fine. But go call the hotline, and they might tell you you need to go in so that they can take paperwork. You might, it's okay. They are very private. Those places are very private. Those places are hidden. You know, they try to make you hide your information so much that your abuser is not going to know all those things. So the reason why this particular video, I'm making it late night at my place, is so that I talk to women who are scared of going to the shelter to get help. I want you to know that there is help out there. If you're having custodial issues with your abuser, make sure you call them and you get counseling. The reason why you need counseling, because some abuse are not physical, and it is easier to prove that if you go through counseling with an expert on abuse, so that it can help you prove that abuse. You go to counseling and or you go for outreach services. And I'm telling you that do not be scared to call that shelter number, the 800 number in your area. The reason why you shouldn't be scared is that it is made for people like you. Remember, we are not the first people in this country. Remember, we are not the first immigrants to go through this domestic abuse. These laws for domestic abuse have been made for years, and made to fit the generations and what is going on. Like VAWA. If you look at the history of VAWA, yes, if I'm gonna tell you, there were some Indians, the Asians and all those people who used to bring their women here in this country. Before, a long time ago, the only way women used to come to this country was through their husbands, because most countries it's the husband that had a good job. And once you come with your husband and they change their mind, they don't want to give you papers, guess what? You as a wife, even though you came with your husband, you start getting stuck here. So some people used to bring their wives here and mistreat them. So they figured that, how about making a law that protects this woman, so that even if her husband brings her here, she is able to still get her papers, because it was a genuine marriage. They came here in good standing, and then the man changed his mind just because he wants to control her. So that's how VAWA kind of came. So what I'm asking you is that, please, instead of running from house to house, staying in go to the shelter. At least there you can start a process. especially if you're married to a US citizen, or married to somebody who has a green card, which is residence papers here in this country, which is the US. I'm talking to those people who are here in the US. So I hope this video gives you information. Do not be scared to call that hotline number. There is a 1-800, I'm not going to check it now. You can just call National Domestic Violence number, and with that National Domestic Violence number, you will be directed to the state and the city where you are, to the nearest domestic violence place, and you can go there without even family knowing you are there if you don't want them to know. So if you don't have money and where to live with your kid, they will help you. And at the shelter, okay, I haven't even talked about that. Once you get at the shelter, don't be scared. Don't expect those people at the first phone call that they'll tell you we can resolve every issue. Oh, we're gonna give you a green card, or we're gonna do this, or no. When you first come there, they also have to make sure that you're genuine, okay? So when you get there, they're not gonna tell you we're gonna pay your rent, we're gonna give you daycare, we're gonna help you with school, we're gonna give you a lawyer and all those things. They don't tell you that. They have to know if you're really genuine. So you have to be there to get the services if you really. And also, if you're taking outreach services, you can only know those services if you're utilizing some of their services, like going for counseling, like going for support group. I encourage you, if you're not ready to leave your husband, to start going for support group. Most abuse centers have support group where women can go and talk about their plan to leave. And also, even if you don't go for support group, then get you a counselor who can start giving you a plan, an exit plan. You need an exit plan whereby they'll tell you, okay, you're not ready to leave, because the truth of the matter is, if you're not ready to leave, okay, but you're in an abusive relationship, sometimes you will be forced to leave, because if you don't make the decision to leave, you might be forced to make the decision to leave. How will that happen? Let's say you get in an altercation and somebody gets hurt, or let's say the abuser decides to kick you out. What are you going to do? So you have to have an exit plan and think about, okay, where can I go? What about if your abuser takes your kids and runs away with them? Who are you going to turn to? I've had situations